Alright, after getting my hands on some engine degreaser, at the same time I went ahead and got me some Chrysler orange paint because I might as well go ahead and paint the engine. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing sprayed down, let the degreaser do its job, hose it down, let it dry out in the sun, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start spray painting. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and spray paint the new valve covers and oil pan, get all that stuff ready to go at the same time. So I'm gonna go on and get started. Alright, well, I managed to get these panels here, well, if you want to call them panels, covers really, got them all painted up. Time cover in particular, because it was a used panel, or cover, I ended up having to really clean it because it was covered in grease and everything, using a mixture of degreaser and carb cleaner and scrubbing it and all that. I finally managed to get it clean enough. I had to almost soak the whole panel for a while to let the chemical break up the grease and oil and crap. But I got it clean enough, masked off the water pump spot and spray painted it real good. And one thing I did to that timing cover was use a blowtorch to kind of singe the cover a little bit so any grease residues or chemical residues got burned off from the metal, especially since metals can sometimes be porous enough to absorb greases and chemicals even after you supposedly cleaned all the grease and oil and stuff off. So I used a blowtorch to make sure that the metal was more or less free from any oils that would cause the paint to not stick on there for the long term. As far as the valve covers and the oil pan, they were fresh covers, so they really didn't need any kind of work like that done to them. They just needed to be free of dust and stuff before I sprayed them. But yeah, they're all done. And I got to do the same thing with the engine block because, well, there was grease and stuff on the engine block, and it's been setting, even in the garage, it's been setting, and I had to use the degreaser to help clean it off. So I'm gonna use a blowtorch to singe it a little bit and ensure the surfaces that'll be taking paint are good enough to hold the paint for the long term. After I do that, I'm gonna have to mask off these internal areas at the top and bottom because we do not need paint in the cylinder walls and in the bearing areas and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get to work on that next. All right, we got the engine all masked up. You're looking at the bottom of the engine, actually. Or, no, I'm sorry, you're looking at the top of the engine. Cylinder walls start at the top right there. The lifter valley and the water pump. Bottom side there is, of course, where the crankshaft goes, but everything is masked up. Didn't really want to record that because there's no sense in having people watch 10 plus minutes of me getting mad with masking tape because the stuff wants to start tearing at an angle and giving me grief, but whatever. I got it done. Now I'm going to move this thing out of the way here so I can go ahead and start spraying it without overspray going outside and settling on other people's vehicles. So, yep, we're going to go ahead and get that set up and I'm going to start spraying. All right, we got the engine block all sprayed. I used an entire can of spray paint on it. Got all the different cracks and crevices. As you can see, underneath, all around. I even stuck a little piece of paper in the dipstick port right there so no paint gets in there. And I even had to do a quick mask up of the oil filter spot here so we don't have paint in there either. But it's all painted up. Even managed to get a little paint in this area here, even though it'll be inside the little gap between the transmission bell housing and the back of the block. It's still covered up, so we can try to keep surface rust and other stuff from forming on the metal of the engine block. So we're going to let this thing sit a while and get the paper and masking tape off, and then we could actually start assembling the engine. As you can see, we have a painted engine block, been allowed to sit and cure for a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and get this masking tape and paper off, get it all cleaned off of that stuff, and start getting ready to put the crankshaft in.